All right, we are back again with my guy JaVon. Stats over feelings. What is this? The third
Yep.
episode every. So they're coming every Wednesday. Me
Week
and
three.
JaVon pulling down the curtain here. We got them all mapped out now until the start of the NFL season. So there's going to be one video a week for sure. Today we are talking the 8 players under the most pressure going into next NFL season. Obviously, this is subjective. I'm going to make sure that I grab the first guy that I want here. I'm not going to let you go first this time. Not going to be
Okay,
a good
that's fair.
host. This guy, I believe, is under the single most pressure of any player in the NFL. He's under a lot of pressure from me because I've been a supporter of his, and that is Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is going into year 5 now on his 3rd head coach at this point in time. I was fine giving him the pass. Like, yeah, Urban Meyer's a problem. We've seen Doug Peterson win a Super Bowl. We've seen quarterbacks like Nick Foles have some of their best games under Doug Peterson, even Carson Wentz. So I've seen QB succeed under Doug Peterson before. Liam Cohen now is just a strictly offensive mind in the modern NFL. We just saw Baker Mayfield have a Pro Bowl level season behind Baker Mayfield. And now you have Brian Thomas Jr., who's a fringe top 10 wide receiver in football. Travis Hunter, who was the number 2 pick in the draft. The team has loaded up. They've paid offensive linemen. You have 3 solid running backs. You're in an AFC South that you should be able to win games in. You should at least be going 500 in this division if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it's all at Trevor Lawrence now. In his NFL career, I'm looking at a 3-14 season in 2021, a 9-8 season in 2022, an 8-8 record for him in 2023. And last year, before he got hurt, he was 2-8 as a player. This was the most highly touted college quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck when he came out. Trevor's only 25, and there are some things that I like. Elite size, elite arm strength, a good framework for being a football player, mobile enough for his size. Last year, per PFF, 76.8 overall grade, was 21st amongst active quarterbacks. So not the worst in the world, but again, if you're the Jaguars paying this guy $55 million a year, you don't want the 21st best quarterback. This has to be the year that Trevor Lawrence steps up.
Oh, that's 100%, bro. And you just don't trade up for a guy like Travis Hunter for no reason. And that's because you trust a guy like Trevor Lawrence, to be honest. And if I'm not mistaken, I think his contract is backloaded, man. Like crazy. So, I mean, if he within the next 2 years, if he doesn't start showing signs, that contract may become one of the worst contracts in the NFL. Who knows? I'm saying the talent is there, but it's definitely on the board. So I mean, that's definitely a good pick. I'm not gonna lie to you.
When I look at what he has available to him this year, this is an ideal spot for a ton of quarterbacks. If I didn't tell you that Trevor Lawrence was there and I didn't tell you it was the Jacksonville Jaguars, I just said offensive-minded head coach that just led a quarterback to a Pro Bowl season, a fringe top 12 wide receiver, 2 to 3 quality running backs, a number 2 overall pick in a draft that is an elite offensive weapon. How many quarterbacks would kill to be in Trevor Lawrence's position right now?
Yeah.
Again, the pass for the Urban Meyer season, absolutely. And then in 2022, we saw, coming off of that playoff game where they snuck in at 9-8, came back down 3 scores versus Justin Herbert, and we all thought that was the moment. They started the next year 8-3. And then Trevor Lawrence gets hurt and they just go on a losing streak. And it's like, maybe it was the injury. But after last year, 2-8, when this guy played, you could put the injury to the left. Like, that doesn't matter anymore. When you played those 10 games, you were 2-8. Like, that is on you at this point. And the Jaguars are invested in him, so they made a move at the coach. But if we see another 2-8 start to a season, another failure of a season, there's no denying whose fault it is. We watched Mac Jones have great games with Brian Thomas Jr. We watched Liam Cohen have great games with Baker Mayfield. The common denominator between failure for the Jaguars at that point will be Trevor Lawrence. And it'd break my heart because I believe in Trevor Lawrence's talent. But you'd have to be a fool to not be skeptical after last season.
Yeah.
You get one more year. ball up top. You're 25,
Yeah.
a new offensive coach, some great weapons, but it's put up or shut up time for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. I mean, they tried to make a splash with Christian Kirk and a couple of other weapons. What they got Evan Ingram as well a few years ago, and it just hasn't really worked out. I mean, you could tell even in the draft, they tried to lean the defense a little bit more in past years because they tried to trust Trevor Lawrence, but now they realize like we need to go out and we need to get a player like Travis Hunter to help this guy out who can play both sides of the ball because our team needs a little bit of everything right now.
I just think with where Brian Thomas Jr. was at the end of the season, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for Trevor Lawrence at this point. Maybe the Jags defense will be what holds them back. I'm not saying they have to necessarily be a playoff team. We've seen Joe Burrow miss the playoffs in back-to-back years, and nobody's questioning if Joe Burrow's good. But if you're Trevor Lawrence, you and that offense need to be better. Who is your first player under pressure, under the most pressure potentially this season?
So for my first player, I'm going to go with Justin Fields, man. I'm going to go with Justin Fields. And I feel like it's kind of going under the radar, but he's like one of the only players on my list that very well cannot be a starter next season for any team. This may be the last chance he gets. And I said the same thing last season. And I was kind of surprised the Jets are going all in on him because their backup quarterback is Tyrod Taylor. But his weapons aren't crazy, but he has Breece Hall. He hasn't really rushed for 1,000 yards last season at all. He has Breece Hall. He has Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, nothing too crazy, but there's a bright spot. His O-line isn't horrible, pretty decent, better than the Steelers O-line. Aaron Rodgers was healthy for 15 games, and it kept up Aaron Rodgers last season. So his O-line is ideal, and he just has to work with what he can. I feel like to secure a starting spot in the future, he's going to have to win at least 7 to 8 games with this team. And that's not crazy, man. Their defense is still solid. So it's not a crazy thing to say.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Fields wasn't even on my list, but I think it's a great shout here because this is self-imposed pressure. Because if you don't perform here, you are likely just a career backup from here on out. You're likely what Marcus Mariota is, what Tyrod Taylor is, if you don't perform at this point, if you're Justin Fields. And, the weapons, again, am I expecting him to lead a Super Bowl run? No. But Garrett Wilson's a top 15 talent at the receiver position. Breece Hall's very solid. You drafted Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU. Yeah. Your tackle duo of Armand Membu and Olu Fashanu is good enough at this point in time. It's a young future, new coaching staff, new culture. I'd imagine if healthy, they're going to give him the entire 17-game season because, like you said, the other option's Tyrod Taylor, and they're just going to ride it out and see what happens. So I think that's a great shout. When you think about this Jets team, do you think in a loaded AFC, what percentage shot would you give Fields to lead them to a playoff run?
Oh, a playoff run?
Just a wild card spot.
Honestly, that defense, and I seen Fields protect the ball for the Steelers last year. He would not put the ball in harm's way. He would rather take off.
3-1 before they put Russ in? Like he was winning football games, if I'm not mistaken.
If I'm not lying, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say he was like 5-2. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say somewhere around that area.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could talk about if you think there's a potential playoff spot for them.
Honestly, I give them 30%. This is just him. And maybe the Jets are viewing him as this is our bridge guy. We definitely plan on trading up for someone or drafting someone next year like a Lenore Sellers or Arch Manning. Maybe he is the bridge guy for this team. But I'm saying in order to secure his spot for at least another couple of years, this season is like he has to perform, man. And that's I hope he does.
Justin Fields was 4-2 for Pittsburgh last year.
4-2.
But you track that out to a full season, like that's a winning season at a high level. Like that's 11-12 wins. If he, obviously the schedule got harder down the stretch and things would have changed, but I don't think it's, overstepping to say if Justin Fields had been the starter the whole year, Pittsburgh's likely in the same spot they are at the end of the season, making the playoffs. I don't think that Russ came in and was demonstrably better than him continuously. I think when Russ first came in, the offense completely shifted and teams weren't ready for that. But, again, I also hope that the Jets believe in Justin Fields. I don't feel like
They
he's
have
played,
to, man.
but I don't feel like he's played for a team that's actually fully believed in him yet in his career, if I'm being honest. I
see
think
what
there's
you're
been
saying.
moments and glimpses, but I really do think going in, and I think this is why he chose the Jets, because he knows he's going to get the full, hey, we're behind you. Like, this is your year. This is your team. Prove that we don't need to draft a QB.
I mean, I understand that, but I mean, nobody's really mentioned it, but this might be the best situation he's been in. Maybe not from a coaching standpoint, but from an overall talent on a roster standpoint. I mean, you could talk, maybe you could flip a coin on the Steelers defense compared to the Jets. I know the Jets didn't really exceed expectations on the defensive side of the ball last year, but I mean, you got George Pickens and Garrett Wilson. Nah. You got Breece Hall, definitely better than Najee Harris, so you'll have a supportive run game for sure. I expect Breece Hall to go over 1,000 yards this season. I mean, who knows, man?
Yeah, I think the offensive line for Pittsburgh, you undersold it a little bit, but I like the tackles better on the Jets.
I mean, yeah, for sure, the tackles.
It's interesting there. You know, we're going to keep the QB train rolling here. I'm going to say my second player under the most pressure is Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold only basically has 2 years of his contract in Seattle guaranteed. So obviously he has this year and next year. But when I've been doing some research on Seattle, because I was doing an NFC West X Factors video today, I recorded that, and I was looking into Sam Darnold and thinking about Sam Darnold more. And before last season, if you had taken a poll of 100 NFL fans and asked them, in 2 years' time, will Sam Darnold be a starter or a backup? I think we're looking at 85 to 90% of that poll saying backup. The wide majority of NFL audiences before last year looked at Sam Darnold as a backup level quarterback. Then he goes out for Minnesota, absolutely balls. A Pro Bowl level season, 4,300 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions, a 66% completion percentage, and a 14-3 record. He gets paid off of that by Seattle. So now my question is, did Sam Darnold, was he a late bloomer? Was it bad situations before? Is it similar to Baker Mayfield when he got to the Buccaneers? And now we've seen multiple great seasons from Baker now that he's not on the Browns or on the Panthers. Was it bad situation for Darnold? Or was last year just the perfect situation on the Vikings? A great offensive line. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson came back, Aaron Jones, Coach of the Year Kevin O'Connell on offensive mind calling plays. That is a very, very good situation compared to now, defensive head coach Mike McDonald. Jackson Smith-Njigba's good. He's not Justin Jefferson. Cooper Kupp is good, but he's not Jordan Addison right now in terms of health. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Noah Fant, not TJ Hawkinson. Ken Walker's good. And that offensive line, yes, they drafted Gray Zabel, and like round of applause, you finally spent a first-round pick on an interior offensive lineman after your fans have been banging the table for years, Seattle. Yeah. But this situation is more reliant on Sam Darnold being a playmaker and being excellent rather than Minnesota's situation of him being a distributor and being able to succeed in an offense. It kind of reminds me a little bit of how successful Jimmy Garoppolo was in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. It didn't work anywhere else. Is this a similar situation where, you know, when we see him with Shanahan and that offensive coordinator and those weapons, this guy looks like he could go win a Super Bowl and be a Pro Bowler. And the second he's not there, it all falls apart like Jimmy Garoppolo did with the Raiders. I'm not saying it's going to be, but Seattle certainly hedged their own bet by drafting Jalen Milroe. So
I mean,
there's at least a guy breathing down Darnold's neck that it's like, hey, dude, if you're not it, I'm ready. Darnold is under pressure to perform in Seattle.
Oh, yeah. And like you said with Garoppolo, I mean, it's definitely similar situations, even though Garoppolo's situation, like the roster was a little bit more stable in Seattle, man. They're like retooling. They're retooling everything. They got rid of their two best receivers or two of their better receivers, and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. They're gone now. So now it's JSN's room. Cooper Kupp. I mean, I wasn't expecting that to happen. I mean, even though
they
Vegas
brought in MVS as well, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a weird face to see in the Seattle uniform too.
I think he's their X, like he's their deep threat.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
crazy.
he's going to play a role, and they have Kubiak, I believe, as the offensive coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator for the
Yeah,
Saints last year, so we know how much he liked to attack it deep with Shaheed and MVS. So like,
yeah,
they're going to test Darnold's arm, and I don't want people to hear what I'm not saying here. I'm not saying I don't believe in Sam Darnold, but I am skeptical, and I don't expect him to have the season he had last year. He was in a way better situation last year. Doesn't mean he
yeah.
has to be bad, but everything before last year was. So to me, he's still under pressure to show that he's a Pro Bowl level quarterback. You don't just get one season and now we treat you that way.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's like that for any position, but especially quarterback. In Sam
Yeah.
Darnold's situation, he's gonna have to perform, man. Because like you said, Milroe's there and he's ready. He's ready to show he's got because he has doubters.
My big concern isn't even as much the weapons, because I do think JSN's good and I do think wide receivers are kind of a dime a dozen. I worry about when that O-line gives up pressure, because they will. What does Sam Darnold do then? Because the
Yeah,
last 2 games of his season, I watched him get pressured, and I watched him look like Sam Darnold in the New York Jets that was seeing ghosts. So,
hey, not to
could be a
mention,
long season.
I mean, Aaron Jones kind of like had a rejuvenation to his career last year, man. I mean, K9 has been very inconsistent, not inconsistent when he's on the field, but he has to stay on the field, and who knows with that O-line as well. So that run game is definitely in question.
For sure. Who's your second player on your list?
For my second player, I'm gonna go with. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna guess this, but I'm gonna go with James Cook because for his situation, for a running back who had 17, 18 touchdowns last year, his contract should not be in question. But it is. They don't want to pay him. They want to go with the younger back. This year, he has to stay healthy, like 100%. If you miss over 3 or 4 games, you're probably not going to get paid by the Bills at least. And, I mean, you have to stay consistent, man. You have to be the Robin to Batman, which is Josh Allen. You have to be that guy. I think he had like 3 or 4 receiving touchdowns and like double-digit rushing touchdowns as well. So he just – I mean, I know it's easier said than done to just score 18 touchdowns again, but you kind of have to score at least 15 this year, man. You got to be the consistent back that this team needs 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I think last year, the performances that Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry had for their teams kind of revitalized the running back market, where if you were elite of elite, you're going to get paid. James Cook had one elite year. A second one here could prove that he's elite of the elite, and his age is still young enough that even if it's not Buffalo, I think there's a team that would be comfortable investing $50 million into this guy over the course of a 3 to 4 year contract.
I mean, this season could shape his career like a player like Sam Darnold or Geno Smith, or like I know it's not the same position, or a player like Saquon Barkley who just got extended too. So I mean, James Cook, he's gonna have to show up big time this year, and maybe he could work his way into that top 5 conversation and earn it.
Yeah, for sure. I think James Cook's a real good shout. And I think similar to Justin Fields on your list, it is also some self-imposed pressure. Because I think if James Cook, say he fell to being just a top 20 back and he was just cool, Buffalo would still be a good team. You still have Josh Allen. You still have a solid defense. You brought in Joey Bosa. You drafted Maxwell Harrison. McDermott's going to coach up that defense. Allen in himself is an offense. You have guys like Keon Coleman, Kincaid, who could step up. Shakir is there. They brought in a Josh Palmer, who's really solid. The Bills' offense will be fine, even if James Cook regresses this year. However, James Cook's bank account will not be as fine if he regresses this year.
Yeah, and I mean, it's positional value. Like when you play the quarterback position, of course, ultimately, a guy like Trevor Lawrence or Sam Darnold is going to have a bigger impact on the team than James Cook. I mean, especially since their backup running backs up there in Buffalo, they showed flashes last year. So maybe that's what they're leaning on, maybe a committee, running back by committee situation in the following years. But James Cook, man, he's going to have to ball out this year.
For sure. So you went away from quarterback. I'm also going to dive away from quarterback here. I am taking a defensive player, and I am taking, under the most pressure, cornerback Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, I think, has regressed every year of his NFL career. His first season, he was Defensive Rookie of the Year, he was an All-Pro, and he got Defensive Player of the Year votes. Last year, he was an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler, but no DPOY votes. Excuse me, that was 2 years ago in 23. Last year, not All-Pro, not Pro Bowl. I understand that corner is a tough position to track stats-wise, but here's what I'll say. Sauce Gardner's tackles in 2022, 75. 2023, 57. 2024, 49. His pass deflections in 2022, 20. In 2023, 11. Last year, 9. Sauce Gardner has only 3 career interceptions, which interceptions aren't everything, but the most came in his rookie year, in which he had 2. And this isn't even to say that Sauce Gardner's bad. However, I look now at his PFF grades. If you're not a counting stats guy and you want more of a grade based on actual performance, so be it. His PFF overall grade, 70.2, 46th overall amongst all corners. His pass rush grade was actually pretty solid, 78.5. That was 13th. Run defense, 53.6, 167th amongst all active corners. Coverage grade, 73.1, 33rd out of all corners. And 33rd, while it sounds good, this is a guy who's supposed to be a top 10 corner in the league. Your coverage grade can't be falling out of top 15, let alone out of the top 30. Sauce Gardner, obviously we know that the Jets were a mess last year, and I think a lot of players on the Jets are kind of getting a pass for everything that happened last year. They fired their GM, they fired their coach, Aaron Rodgers is running things, whatever it may be. But I'll tell you what, under defensive head coach Aaron Glenn, Sauce Gardner better go back to looking like Pro Bowl Sauce Gardner if he's still going to be in these top 10 conversations. Because even though it's only been a couple seasons, he's been blown by Pat Surtain, who 2 years ago, there was real debate as to who was better. He's been blown by a Derek Stingley, by a Trent McDuffie, by a Marlon Humphrey. Some of these young guys in a Quinyon Mitchell, in a J.C. Horn, have passed him by in rankings, and rightfully so. It's not to say Sauce doesn't have the potential. He's super young, and he's on a really solid defensive roster that should allow him to play his best, but we have to see it this season.
I mean, he's under a lot of pressure, man. I mean, like you said, after his rookie year, there were people who were saying Sauce was that guy. Like, Sauce was number 1. I heard a lot of people saying Sauce Gardner was number 1. And now, like, if he doesn't show up this season and he doesn't play as well as he has in former years, he may be one of the most overrated corners in the league after this season. Who knows? So I definitely see the vision with that pick for sure.
And I'd like to point out, this is the last guaranteed year of his contract.
Yep.
Next season is a team option. That's a $20 million base salary. If we see the Sauce Gardner we saw last year, they might not pick that up.
Oh, yeah. Hey, who knows, man?
So
I mean,
we talked about pockets with James Cook. I'm not, trying to pocket watch Sauce Gardner and James Cook, but millions is on the line based on their performance this year.
I mean, with a name like Sauce, man, you got to live up to the name for sure. And after this season, if he regresses, man, he may not even be the best corner on his team. So who knows? Yeah,
that's very possible. Under Aaron Glenn, hopefully we see the best out of Sauce because, I still like the guy. Easy to root for, but at a certain point, we got to see what you can produce. Who is the third guy on your list?
So for my third guy, I'm gonna go lean back into quarterbacks. I'm gonna go with Brock Purdy, the newly paid Brock Purdy. So this isn't contract related. This is pure like your team is getting older. You're kind of retooling a little bit because you may have 2 new wide receiver 1 and 2s. Like, who knows? Especially if Ayuk gets traded. So you got to work what you got, man. Now you're getting paid to where you have to make your team better. And now Brock Purdy has to choose that. You got Ricky Pearsall going into his second year. He's going to have to ball crazy. I mean, you got Ricky Pearsall coming in. He's going to have to go crazy. You got JaVon Jennings, who would have won Super Bowl MVP, like you always like to bring up.
He would have.
I mean, George
threw a touchdown in that Super Bowl and caught one.
I mean, and the thing is, Brock Purdy would not have won Super Bowl MVP. So I think that's more the bigger story there. Brock Purdy, it took them a while, to make this decision, quite frankly. But to be honest, Christian McCaffrey getting older, that ghost of him getting hurt is always going to be there, regardless. If he plays 15 games or 17 games next season, that ghost of him getting hurt is always going to be there. George Kittle getting older as well. Trent Williams, everyone knows how old he is. But, I mean, now is your time, bro. Like, y'all missed the playoffs last season. Y'all had an underwhelming year. You can blame it on the injuries or whatever, but now you have to make your team better. And now the pressure is on, man. You don't got the ghost of me having to get paid looming over you no more either.
Yep. No, I 100% agree here. I'll say this. Like you mentioned, the team's full of veterans. I don't know what McCaffrey will be. I'm pretty confident next year is Trent Williams last year. That's something I'm pretty confident about. And he's one of, if not the best left tackle in football. You're not going to have that anymore if you're Brock Purdy. Like, next year is your year to have Trent Williams out there still protecting you. That's guaranteed. If you are, listen, when we first started doing videos together, I thought Brock Purdy was overrated because people were bringing him up in MVP conversations. And people caught up to where I was at and then some last year. I almost think he's become overhated at this point because I do think he's very clearly a top 20 quarterback in football. I have him in my top 15 personally.
I hope so.
Well, I'm saying I've seen people throw him out of there. And I think he's significantly better than Tua. But I've seen people drop him in the Tua tier. And I don't think that is correct. But one of the easiest, if not the easiest schedule in football, your weapons theoretically back healthy. Robert Saleh back on that defense, a good defense.
Yeah.
We could throw away what happened last year because your play was still pretty solid and the whole team got hurt.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for Brock Purdy to not be back in the playoffs this year with the 49ers. And I know, there's going to be that crowd of people. Wins aren't a quarterback stat. Listen, if that's your opinion, you're on the wrong channel. Like, you could go watch somebody else.
Yeah.
But quarterbacks affect the outcomes of games. There's a reason that Patrick Mahomes, everybody says that's the best quarterback in football, and he's been to 3 straight Super Bowls and winning games. Like, you win games when you're good. Brock Purdy this year needs to absolutely win games.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to see, man. Shit. I mean, in my opinion, besides my next pick, he's going to be, besides my next pick, I'm going to say he should be under the second most pressure in this upcoming season because the 49ers, I expect them to have Super Bowl expectations for sure. I feel like the league is wide open right now. Like, I know the Eagles on paper, the roster is pretty dominant, man. But, I mean, someone's going to have to step up to the bullies in school, bro. I feel like the 49ers could do that with their playoff experience.
Yeah, and they were just in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, man. Like, they
could have won.
And they have the players to absolutely be there. My last guy on my list, certainly not Super Bowl aspirations for this team, could be playoffs. It's Bryce Young. And I think Bryce Young very similar connects to the thoughts that we had about Trevor Lawrence at the end of 2023 when Trevor Lawrence was winning games, or at the beginning, and then going into last year. Everybody is very high on Bryce Young right now in the Panthers because of Bryce Young's last 7 games. And no doubt about it, not even prisoner of the moment, Bryce Young absolutely balled the second half of last season. However, there was that first half of the season where he was so bad that he was benched for Andy Dalton. That did happen last year as well. I'm not saying that I don't believe in Bryce Young, but I'm going to pump the brakes a little because we saw it work in the second half of last year with minimal weapons. I need to see it again. I need to see it for a full and complete season. The Panthers, I don't think they're sold on Bryce Young yet either. I think what he did last year bought him a season here to really get a runway and show us what you are. But with Dave Canales, he improved. They saw that and invested in him. They drafted Xavier Legette last year as a wide receiver with their first-round pick. This year, with their first-round pick, number 8 overall, they take Tedero McMillan. They as well drafted a Jimmy Horn. They as well brought a Hunter Renfrow out of retirement. They have Adam Thielen. They have Jalen Coker. They have Jatavion Sanders, so they put draft capital in 2 years ago. Chuba Hubbard is a very underrated back. There is more than enough on this offense at this point in time for Bryce Young himself to have a productive 2025. I don't trust the defense enough to go and make the playoffs, if I'm being honest. But I better see from the offense an offense that's good enough to make the playoffs based on everything that's there. Because I don't think, truthfully, that they need to add more weapons to the offense. They can tweak and improve the offensive line, but that offense where it's at, with a high-level quarterback, would be productive enough to be a playoff-level offense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and how many quarterbacks are fortunate enough that their GM goes out and then back-to-back first-round picks drafts wide receivers?
Yeah.
I mean,
and hires an offensive quarterback guru head coach.
Yeah, and that speaks to, I mean, he probably was drafted into a really bad situation. It speaks to that, to know that they would have to do that. But, I mean, one thing they can't say is that Bryce Young is not supported by his team. Because, I mean, you have one of the best security blankets. I mean, it was proven last year. And Adam Thielen, no one expected him to kind of keep his career going. They thought he was going out there to die. And he proved that he can play pretty well.
And Tedero McMillan is a massive third down threat.
Exactly.
This guy is 6'4", has 4.4 speed, and has great yak ability. That's the build of a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
If you are productive enough as a QB, he will be. And again, Bryce Young showed us a lot in those last 7 games. Miss me with the win-loss record for the moment, just because I just needed to see him be productive in some way. And he only averaged 225 passing yards in those games. So they were still a run-heavy team, and that's fine for the weapons he had. Legette was still a rookie developing. Thielen's older, second half of the season. Of course, he wore down a little bit. To me, what stuck out the most was in that 7-game stretch, starting at the Kansas City game, Bryce Young had 16 total touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. That is, you take care of the ball enough like that, and you show off the mobility he had, the playmaking he had. They were a couple plays away from beating both the Chiefs and the Eagles in the second half of last season. Those 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl. So Carolina's not that far off, but they need Bryce to be good for a 17-game slate.
Oh, yeah. 100%, bro. Like Bryce Young, I mean, Ted McMillan was compared to Mike Evans, so he could be half of what Mike Evans was going to be. That running game is already consistent regardless. Bryce Young, like you said, his biggest thing is going to have to be taking care of the ball. He has weapons there. I want to see Legette take that leap, man. I really do, because it was kind of underwhelming to me what he did last season. I thought he would have went a little bit more crazy, but, I mean, it's the Panthers at the end of the day. They're doing better, though.
Yeah. I think in 2 years' time, they should absolutely be a playoff team. Again, Bryce Young was a former number 1 overall pick for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like this is, we just talked about Brock Purdy. He was the last pick in a draft. He's exceeded expectations.
That's kind of ironic.
Pressure on him, but Bryce Young has not lived up to number 1 overall pick expectations thus far in his career. This is the season where he could finally get things going, I think. Who is your last player? You built him up as the player under the most pressure in your eyes.
Oh, it's Lamar Jackson, man. I don't think it should be a question. I think Lamar Jackson is under the most pressure. Like, it's getting to a point where it's kind of getting ridiculous. Like, we watched Aaron Rodgers for years not get quarterbacks drafted in the first round. I mean, wide receivers, drafted in the first round, have a mediocre to lower tier defense. And it just sucks because of the talent quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers was. And now you have Lamar Jackson, who has everything you could possibly want. And he's showing up in the regular season. 45 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. That sounds like Aaron Rodgers to me, like on paper, man. And then you'd see the defense. You've seen the weapons he has on the outside now. He has 2 tight ends who are very good tight ends. Like, he has his Zay Flowers. They just extended Bateman. And I just don't see the excuse no more, man. You had the most Pro Bowlers in the entire NFL, more than the Eagles, who everybody is saying has the best roster in football. You have the most Pro Bowlers on your team. You just added an all-pro corner in Jair Alexander. There's no more excuses, man. Like, no, I don't care about injuries. I don't care about nothing. There's no more excuses.
You listed how great the Ravens were without bringing up Derrick Henry. And I think that proves enough on its merit as to what the talent is around Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
There is not a aside from the wide receiver room, there is not an elite position group on this Baltimore Ravens team. The corners, elite. The safeties, elite. The linebackers, elite. Defensive line, great to elite. Offensive line, great to elite. Tight end room. The room, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, elite. Derrick Henry and Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell, elite running room. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. They just added DeAndre Hopkins, who we saw him be productive in the second half last year for Kansas City, and he's the number 3 on this team. All the pieces are there. Todd Monken at OC. John Harbaugh is the head coach. It's not, and again, we value wins here for quarterbacks. And every year, Lamar comes up short against Mahomes and Allen. 2 years ago, the AFC Championship is in his building, and I hear you on the Zay Flowers fumble. That sucked. That would have only scored 17 points.
Or the Mark Andrews.
But the Mark Andrews drop on the 2-point conversion, to me, that 2-point conversion, if I'm not mistaken, forces overtime.
Yeah.
There's no saying you win.
They weren't going to win that. I mean, I'm not going to say they weren't. But...
It was somebody in your comment section on your TikTok today about Jair Alexander that said, we're a 1-2-point conversion drop away from winning the Super Bowl. And I didn't want to get into it, but I read it and was like, you were 1-2-point conversion away from overtime in the divisional round. That's not from the Super Bowl. Even if you win that game versus Buffalo, now you're going to Kansas City, who, by the way, beat Buffalo, who, by the way, 2 years ago was in your building and beat you. And then if you get to the Super Bowl, don't get me wrong, it's different. It's a Super Bowl. We saw Philly beat Baltimore last year in the regular season.
Yeah.
So I have proof of concept that the 3 other teams that you would have played were better than you. And every year in the playoffs, Lamar Jackson has his worst game of the year. And I get it. It correlates with you're playing the best teams you're going to play. But there's significant drop-off. In the regular season, this man looks like the best football player alive. But the only reason he's not consensusly the best quarterback in football today is because he doesn't show up in January.
That's facts, man. I mean, the only reason I didn't bring up Derrick Henry is because somehow, some way, Ravens fans use Derrick Henry as an excuse. Like, if I'm not mistaken, if you have an MVP quarterback, what's wrong with putting the ball in his hands with the game on the line? Why is your excuse we didn't hand the ball off to Derrick Henry enough? That should never be an excuse. Or hand the ball off to whoever's in the backfield enough. That should never be an excuse. It's on Lamar Jackson now, man. And like I was texting you earlier, if he has another early exit, man, you're going to hear talks about, oh, this is the James Harden of the NFL. Like, I don't know. Like, can we trust Lamar in the playoffs? Do we care about what he does in the playoffs anymore? Will he ever win an MVP again? No matter if he has 50, 60 touchdowns.
And I want to spin back to what I said about the fact that me and you value wins. And I don't want to fully speak for you, but I'm sure you'll agree with me here. It's not to say that if Lamar Jackson loses a game, say the way Josh Allen did to Patrick Mahomes in 2021 in that divisional classic, the 13-second game, that will be like, oh, Lamar again. No. If Lamar Jackson loses 38-35 in a playoff game, I'm sure we'll come up here and rightfully blame the defense. Again, the problem is in these playoff games, he is getting outplayed and he's making more mistakes than Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Last year in that playoff game versus Buffalo, Lamar had 2 first-half turnovers. Those mattered at the end of the game. If you didn't have those and you kicked a field goal on one of those drives, that touchdown wins you the game. Yeah. So, the point is, I don't care what Lamar does in the 17. I got to be honest. Lamar Jackson could throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in the regular season next year. If he goes into his first playoff game versus the Bills or the Chiefs and puts up 150 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 turnovers, I'm going to kill him again.
I mean, 100. I mean, it's crazy because you look at quarterbacks like Josh Allen against Mahomes. He doesn't have his worst game of the year when he plays Mahomes. He actually, in some cases, he's outplayed Mahomes. Same as Jalen Hurts when he lost a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I mean, nobody was saying that he's a playoff choker. He doesn't show up in the big time games. Granted, he did make it to the Super Bowl, so he had to play somewhat decent to get there. But I mean, Lamar needs to put it all together, man. This has to be the year. And I feel like we've been saying that the last 3-4 seasons. Like, it's always this was his best chance.
Yeah, I thought last year, I thought 2 years ago was really like his best chance.
Yeah.
And I think that they really fumbled there. I thought last year's team was good enough, but I didn't think it was as good a shot as 2023. And I know people are going to hear us talking and think it's Lamar hate. Like I have the Lamar Funko Pop behind me for a reason.
I never noticed that.
This guy is one of my favorite players in the NFL to watch. I just want to see him be the same guy in the playoffs that he is in the regular season. The pressure is on this season to do it. The Chiefs, they're vulnerable. The Bills, they don't have the weapons you have, or the defense for that matter. You strip away Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar Jackson, that Ravens team is clearly the best.
Yeah, 100%, man.
So
I'm interested to see who you got last. But before we end, I want to hear if you have any honorable mentions as well after this pick.
I thought we were only doing 4, so I could pick one of the 2 that I had here, or we could just roll out honorable mentions.
I mean, it's up to you, man. I got a few honorable mentions, but I wasn't going to really talk long about them. I was just going to say them,
So we could just do honorable mentions. Okay. I also, on my list, in case we overlapped, had Brandon Ayuk. So you went with Brock Purdy. I went with Ayuk. I think coming off of the ACL and, all the money he had, the drama, like it's time to be the wide receiver 1 you were paid to be, especially with Debo gone.
Yeah, and he got his money, so who knows how that is.
I also have Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray has enough pieces around him now that if they miss the playoffs, it's because he wasn't consistently the level he can be. That's kind of been my problem with Kyler. It's been roller coaster-esque with him. Like week 2 last year versus the Rams was one of the best games I've seen a quarterback have in the last half decade. But he follows that up with absolute stinker performances as well. Kyler, if he played his best for a full season, would be in MVP conversations. I truly believe that, but he just doesn't put it all together. So those were the 2 other honorable mentions I had.
Wow, Ayuk. The only reason I didn't put Ayuk instead of Purdy is because, I mean, he was so adamant about getting paid. It just seemed like that was all he wanted. And his quarterback situation, we don't even know who his quarterback's going to be next, like when the season starts, honestly. I mean, we don't know.
I don't think he's getting moved. I think it's way more likely, in your opinion, he gets moved. I think he's like 99% a 49er in my mind.
Yeah, but like the fact that multiple years now, like he's been in these trade talks, like I don't know. I'm not gonna question effort or nothing, but think about it. If that was in your shoes, man, I wouldn't even want to be there. I'm being honest.
I think he's only in trade talks because he's put himself in them.
Last year, maybe. I mean, this year, kind of, sort of, but like. I don't even know who bought up the Terry McLaurin for.
I mean, that was just USA Today, I think, trying to get Ayuk and Daniels together because they seemed to be buddy last offseason.
I mean, it gained traction, but who knows, man. But for my honorable mentions, I went with Kyle Pitts. I'm pretty sure contract year, and he hasn't had he hasn't had over 700 yards since his rookie year. So you want to talk about a player who's regressed? I mean, he was hurt his second year. I think he missed like 6 or 7 games his second year, but he has to show up.
For the fantasy community, it's next year's always the year that Kyle Pitts will break out.
I fell for that one time. One time for the Kyle Pitts.
Me too. Last year.
Yeah. Oh, dang. Kirk Cousins had you ground up like that? That's crazy. Who knows, man?
Well, I mean, not so much Kirk Cousins. The fact that he wasn't going to have Desmond Ridder anymore is what had me believing.
Who knows? I mean, and who would have thought Kirk Cousins was damn near worse at some points of the year? That's crazy. But my second honorable mention, I went with C.J. Stroud because, I mean, his O-line is kind of abysmal right now. I'm not going to lie. But he has weapons. And I don't think he can regress another year, man. There were people saying after his rookie year that they just threw him in the top 10 conversation. They just threw him in there. And last year, he proved to me, like, is he even a top 15? That's what I'm asking now. Like, I don't know. Like, he took a major step back. I think it's on the board that happens again, and I don't want it to. So that's why I have him as my honorable mention.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel. I believe in CJ Stroud. I think he's a top 8 quarterback in football. So I'm glad he's just honorable mention, and we didn't have to do his whole segment on him.
Oh yeah, we'll see. I mean, and for another one, I had Tyreek Hill. Because Jesus Christ, bro, he can't stay out the news like for anything. Like he's always in the news for something. Like just this morning, I was scrolling and I seen Tyreek Hill. Oh, I forgot he was racing Noah Lyles. Why is he racing Noah Lyles?
He's under the most pressure to just be a normal person.
No, for real. But he hasn't been performing either.
Yeah, so I mean, you saw it with Antonio Brown. The antics can only get you so far if the talent doesn't follow.
Man, he doesn't. I mean, not that I know if he don't got CTE, but man, he's probably made it to CT ESPN a couple of times. But man, he has to get it together. He has to perform for Miami's sake because they're a year away from being a real disaster. Like real talk, a real disaster.
Last year, Mike McDaniel stopped trusting Tua to throw the ball far, so that means that when Tyreek Hill gets the ball, he better make plays.
I mean, he's Tyreek Hill. That's what he's known for. So and Waddle too. Waddle was had the most receptions by a rookie, but barely had 1,000 yards or something crazy like that his rookie year.
He's been struggling since Tyreek got there.
I mean,
fight for targets. Some of that I think is Tua not being able to hold up 2 strong high volume receivers. He did it the one year, but that was 2022. That was about 3 seasons ago now. So
yeah, bro. I mean, it seems like slowly but surely they're trying to start a rebuild. You got Jonnu Smith, trade talks, Jalen Ramsey, trade talks. They're offloading salary and shit. Like, it's a lot of stuff going on in Miami. Is the coach going to go next if they don't win at least 9 games? If I'm
Miami, if somebody picks up that phone calling for Tua, I'll talk.
I mean, yeah, but who in the right mind would want to do that? Like, now you got a Kirk Cousins situation. I wouldn't rely on him to be my starting QB. Like,
not for $57 million a year, I wouldn't.
Nope, and no team really needs a quarterback right now. Everyone kind of has their guy. Like,
if you don't, whether the Browns don't or the Saints don't, would you not rather go in the draft and get somebody for the cheap? So, I think those are all good shouts. Anybody that we missed, let us know in the comment section down below. JaVon will be on every single Wednesday as we lead up and throughout the NFL season. If you love the NFL, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out all of JaVon's links in the comment section down below. My links will be down there as well. And drop any video suggestion ideas that you have for us. We have the schedule planned out, but nothing's set in stone. If you got something better, we'll take it and we'll run with it.
Yep.
But we appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Yes, sir.